One sec while I just go get my fish. Today we're having this fish. So I finally got my mum to eat fish again. As you know, every Monday we have something and veg. We used to have fish and veg. Oh no, I put all of them out. Shoot bags. Or shit bags. Shit bags and shoot bags. They're small, these. 2 mouthfuls and they'll be gone. Oh wait. 20 minutes, okay. 10 minutes. On one side. As usual, I've got to just make sure food is on the go before I, start the video properly. So I've got to set up the veg water, and we'll get to talking any moment. Besides, like a lot of live streamers, they like to wait for people to come on and watch first before we start. I think that's why people do like countdowns on their streams before they start. Because, they give their viewers a chance to come on before they start doing their whatever they're doing in the stream. I always wondered about that countdown thing. Is it like a premiere thing or something? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I think it gives everyone a chance to come on before they start. Who knows? Who knows? I know someone who live stream every single day at the same time. I couldn't do that. I just live stream spontaneous when I'm sort of, in the mood. I feel like doing it. So I know a lot of people say, you've got to have like a regular live stream every day or every week or whatever. It's got to be regular. See, we're sorting out. Okay. I think I'll sit down though while I do so. I'll check Patreon, don't worry, I'll check it. I hope you guys will join my Patreon for stuff, for rewards and shit. I haven't really been doing a lot, as you know, on there, but I am going to start doing more. I've already started, putting more content on there. I haven't done anything new regarding art yet, apart from the sketches. I'm still in the process of finishing off TK or whatever, TK's picture. I've just got the eyes and the clothes to finish off, and then I think I'm done. Oh, and add a choker as well. God, this is hard work, isn't it? Yes, I know it's low battery, bugger off. I got this today, at last. I'm not sure it helped, but the other one wasn't helping, but I think that was just because the date, it was out of date, so that might be the one. I never had one this big before. Let's have a look. I usually get the small one. It's like a giant novelty version because I'm not used to the big one. I didn't really need one that big, but I better make sure I use it before the 11th month of 2024. So I've got 2 years anyway. I don't know how that other one was out of date. That one was only got last year. Thank you, can't wait for my... Okay. Okay, cool. So, I was going to talk about Hinge because I've just checked it after a while. I've got it, but I don't really check it that often because, as you guys probably don't know, I have sort of given up on the whole thing. Not like for good, but for now, I guess you might say, because it was just getting too emotionally frustrating and annoying, and you know, it was just frustrating that every time I would meet someone on there, they'd only be interested in me for sex. And whenever I arranged to meet anyone on there, they would just, ghost me on the day or make an excuse as to why they can't meet. So, as you know, one of the things is ghosting me, which about over 40 people did from July this year. I managed to meet up with one new person in June and one new person in July, the beginning of, but then the rest of the months until about September I didn't get to meet, and then I got to meet one person in September, I think, and then I got to meet up with I don't know, maybe three or four in October, and I don't think I met up with anyone in November at all. So I don't really hold much hope for December. I did I did have a guy who wanted to meet me, who I've been texting with from Hinge, seeing as how we're talking about Hinge. I think I met up with only a couple of people so far on Hinge. I think it's been. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's one of those people I met in real life. I actually met him on the bus. And yeah, the other guy I met with on Hinge. The guy before that was on FET. And this guy was on Hinge. And so we arranged to meet. He said, "Are you available next week?" And I said, available for what? Because he didn't actually say about meeting. And he said for meeting. So I said, okay. So I said, yeah, I'm sure we could do next week at some point. And of course he said Wednesday and in Manchester. Oh, typical. I've had that a lot lately. Everybody has wanted me to go to Manchester to meet them. Just lately, just this year. And I'm like, Manchester is further out of my way. I can't get to Manchester so easily. And it costs money, I can't do it. But everybody wants to meet up in Manchester. So, I told him, I said, I can't do Wednesday and I can't do Manchester either. And of course he asked me why not. So I told him my reasons. And he just said, okay, well, I'm not going to change your mind about Manchester then. And that's it. It's like, no arranging to meet up at a different place. Okay, so where would you prefer to meet? No, nothing. It's like, that's it, because we can't meet up in Manchester. That's it, he won't do it. It's like, what the hell? Why don't you say that? Why don't you say what I've just said? Where would you prefer to meet? But no. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about, but hello, Sean Peace. Sean Peace, you the guy who does Irish or likes Irish music? I can't remember. I told you about a song. Remember? The dim lights, thick smoke, and loud. I remember the lyrics to it, by the way. Yay. I know I kind of butchered it last time because I totally forgot the lyrics. I knew the lyrics, I just didn't know, which order they went in, how it went. I knew the lyrics, but not how they go, do you know what I mean? But now I do, but I'm kind of embarrassed to do it again. I do like it very much on the piano. Yeah, like last time. Um, what else? You're not the one who was asking me questions about Jeremiah and Jeremiah's story and the art and stuff. I can't remember. I think that was someone called Dean. I got someone called Dean Winchester following me on Instagram now. I thought, oh, the stuff in his profile, that's not something Dean would say. Like being into nerdy stuff. So that's one of the things about Hinge, is that everybody on it seems to be into nerdy stuff. Everyone's into Harry Potter. Every grown-ups. I mean, it's okay. It's okay being into that stuff when you're a kid, but like when you're a grown-up, I think it might be a bit weird. I mean, again, it's okay. Maybe just like keep it to yourself and be into this stuff, but you don't have to like splurge it out all over the internet. And then when you get to know someone better, then you can sort of tell them, and then they can go, oh yeah, I'm into that as well. And you know, that's how people used to do it. It's like, remember that guy, Bruce, that I said that I really liked, but it turned out he had a foot fetish, and I'm like, ugh. It's like, at one time, people didn't used to blurt out that all this weird stuff that they were into. Like, they'd make sure, they'd sort of wait until they're comfortable with a person first, and they'd be like a bit, like maybe scared to tell them. Like I would. Like the first time I would tell someone that I'm into a certain thing, I would just be like, oh God, how are they going to react, because it's a bit weird. I certainly would. But no, these people are just so brazen with it. I'd be, like if I was Bruce, I would be worried that it would scare me off. But no, he's just like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's like, ugh, no, I don't care that you're into a foot fetish, but you don't have to tell me about it. Go on and on. And he went on and on and on about it. He didn't discuss it like, oh, I guess I have a foot fetish, blah, blah, blah. He would just say things that, would tip me off that he has a foot fetish. Like wanting to, like he'd ask questions about my feet, or he'd want to see them, or like when we meet, afterwards he'd say, oh, what would have been great is if you put your legs up on my lap and let me rub your feet or something. And it's like, oh, for God's sake. Is it just me, or are all men into feet now? Like, I've met so many men that are into feet. And porn. Nowadays, porn. Every porn magazine that you see now has a picture of feet in. It's like a mainstream thing now. Instead of it just being a fetish that's a bit taboo. It's now mainstream porn now. It's in mainstream fucking porn. And I mean magazines, by the way. I haven't seen many, but I just remember a few years ago, I went into Nisa. The old Nisa, not the new one. And I looked at the magazines, and I looked up and I noticed there was like porn magazines. And I remember I just looked at one out of curiosity. And it had like a bunch of Chinese or Japanese girls in. No offense, but I do not know the difference. I even saw a diagrammy thing where it showed you like the differences between Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. And it seemed, oh, okay, that's, I could get on board with that. Seems easy enough. But then I would look at these people outside of the diagram, and I'd think, okay, that one looks Korean. But then it turned out they were Chinese, and it's like, okay, so I'm not good at this after all. So sorry, I cannot tell the difference. Just like I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a white person and a South African that are white. I would be able to say, oh yes, he's British white, and oh, he's South African white. I would be able to tell the difference between fucking white people either. If you've got nationalities that look kind of similar, you can't. So again, it's like, I can't tell the difference between Indian and Pakistani and whatever other variations they are that have the same look. Is it Arabic? There's like a Greek place over there, and they all look Pakistani, I'm not gonna lie. And one of them even said he was Spanish, but he looked like the rest of them. So he's from Spain, but he didn't look Spanish at all. I can tell what a Spanish person looks like, but he did not look like it at all. But not all of them were Greek. Some of them were from Pakistan, and one of them was from... Okay, let's have a look. Sorry, I want to read your stuff. I did indeed ask about your art, and that's you. I use your talent very well. I'm the religious one. Okay, coolio. A lot of the time when men want you to go out of your way and go to where they are, sadly because they are just trying to take you home with them, a real man will go out of his way for a date. Yeah. That saddens me. I feel like you'd be an amazing person to spend time with and hang out with. I would if I wasn't all the way in the States. I use Tinder, but I have little success. I think I've only met 2 people on Tinder. And I've been on Tinder for 8 years. It's probably been longer than 8 years now. And I think it has been 8 years, I think I'm right. I mean, I kinda just put it up front with my kinks are versus wait until later, because I'd rather have them walk away at the beginning versus when the relationship has really developed. Honestly, most dream fetishes do look down on foot fetishes, LeMayo. I remember on that fet, somebody said they had a foot fetish. Apparently, I didn't see that. And he was like, before he even told me that, he said, "Oh, just look at my profile. Are you sure you're not put off by me or whatever?" And I was saying, "Oh, why put off?" And he went, "Oh, because I have a foot fetish and most people just laugh at me when I say I've got a foot fetish." That's what he said, and that's on the fet site. And I said, "No, it looks like everybody has a foot fetish on there. Seriously." By the way, talking about mainstream things or things being popular, there's a couple of things that have become popular lately that never were popular before, but they've been around for quite some time. One of them is Elf. You know the movie Elf? This year, since people have been going on about Christmas, since October, by the way, people have been going like overboard about Christmas since like October. You know, like everywhere's been decorated, everywhere's been playing Christmas music. There's like loads of adverts on TV, selling lots of stuff, of course, as usual. And the one thing I've noticed, like I say, is Elf. The character Elf, played by Will Ferrell. I've noticed him everywhere. Will Ferrell Elf everywhere. There was like this board where you can put your face in the face hole and you can take a picture of Elf. There's cards, there's presents. Everything to do with bloody Elf this year. But hasn't Elf been around for like millions of years? How come Elf is suddenly popular this year? It's so weird. What's the other one? There's another one. Oh yeah, I was talking about Star Wars as well. I can't go a day without hearing about fucking Star Wars. That's been going since the fucking 70s. Why is it so popular now? But I can't go online without seeing a reference to Star Wars or anything. Products, merchandise, memes, pictures, quotes. Even in fucking other films, they have references to Star Wars in them. Like the latest one I watched was Paws of Fury. That one is huge for referencing other films and also acknowledging that they are a movie, which is relatively new to me. It was weird. I was 9 when Elf came out. Millions of years. And Lord of the Rings is always bloody mentioned as well, but not as frequently. See, all the other nerdy things have all disappeared. There was all sorts of different ones that were quite similar. I love seeing Mean Girl references. I don't see a lot of those. The odd ones. I remember there's this thing online. Me and this guy have been arguing pretty much about it, to do with Mean Girls, because somebody said, "Oh, why are teenage girls always represented as being bitchy? You know, because it's not true, blah blah blah." And I said, "Yeah, it is. All the teenage girls I've ever known have been fucking bitchy. It's how it is. So they are presented just perfectly in movies and sitcoms because that is really how they are." And he was like, "Oh no, not everyone. You can't generalize." And I'm like, maybe you get the odd nice one, but seriously, the majority of them are bitchy. And even the nice ones are usually roped into being bitchy because of peer pressure. Like, you know, all the hooligans, because I've had first-hand experience with them. All the hooligans, okay, not every single one of the kids in these gangs are horrible, okay? It's just the odd few that are horrible within the gang. But the ones who are nice, the not so horrible ones, they join in still. Because, of course, they don't want to be outcasted as well. They don't want to be lumped in with me. So, of course, they will just go along with their nasty mates, their hooligan mates, and harass me as well. So even nicer ones are always like roped into being dickheads as well, because of fucking peer pressure or whatever. Or even if they're not friends with them directly, they'll still sort of agree with them because they don't want to be, like I say, made an outcast as well. They don't want to be in my category. You know, they don't want to be associated with me. Because if they're associated with me, then they get harassed, you know, as well. Or bullied, because obviously they're more directly associated with them, because, you know, they have to go to school with them, and presumably, so of course they don't want to be bullied at school. So they say nothing, you know. Even if they don't want to be my friend, they could stick up for me, but of course they won't, because if they stick up for me, then they'll be seen as, like, being a me sympathizer. As they call me Wolfie, we'll say a Wolfie sympathizer. So if any of them are seen to be a Wolfie sympathizer, they will be lumped in the same category as me as being weird, and then they'll get bullied. So even the nice ones aren't going to say out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. I like reading your comments after streams are finished. And apparently all this stuff helps. Let's see what else. Okay. So yeah, it looks like okay, so let's get back to the subject of Hinge. So Hinge, okay, is supposedly, I'm assuming, it's supposedly as marketed, supposed to be a serious relationship platform. It's not supposed to be a casual sex one, because there's plenty of dating websites and apps for the purpose of just being a hookup site. So it's like, come on, leave some for people who actually want to find a serious relationship and not mix. Like, there is a few dating sites whereby there's like a mixture, you know, some want relationships and some want casual hookups and friends with benefits and all that crap. It's fair enough that, you know, different people are going to want different things. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is lumping them all together, especially when there's specific dating apps for just hookups. All the people who just want sex should just stick to those sites. And all the people who want relationships should just be on the one site, because that way it means that people like me who are looking for a serious relationship can actually have more chance of finding them, and not having my time wasted by talking to a bunch of guys that just want sex. You know, it's just a waste. It's a waste of my time, and it's a waste of their time. It's a waste of the time of the people who just want casual hookups, as well as a waste of the time of the person who wants a relationship. So, you know, rather than match with someone and you think, oh, you know, I really fancy these people, but then it just turns out that they're into sex. It's like, come on, man, that's a waste of time, because you might talk to them for a bit and then realise when you could have been talking to someone else who is serious. So it's just really stupid. I mean, I'm not looking for the kind of relationship where someone's going to be damn well possessive over me, by the way. I just want to let you know that even if I was, you know, interested in a serious relationship, I don't want it to be so like jealous, like to that point where you're all jealous of, you know, this relationship. You can still be casual. That's why it's important to specify, because when people say casual, they just think of like sex. But casual can also just mean a casual relationship, as in you're sort of committed to each other, as in you're going together, you know, your boyfriend and girlfriend, but you're not like super serious, if that makes sense. You know, that's perfectly fine with me. But anyway, so far, again, this is supposed to be a serious relationship website, okay? But I think that there are quite a few people on here who just want sex. I have met a few. And I've told them off, I've said, this is a, you know, this site is for people who want serious relationships only. You know, stop wasting space on these apps that are supposed to be serious. Honestly, I thought you wouldn't agree because of your style. Don't judge a book by its cover. Lul, only very small, as in you can still see my abs, but for me is a bit of a belly. That'll be sad. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So one of them. One of the things on this site is that in the profile bit, I'm presuming there's only a couple of options as to in the what you're looking for section. So that is what you're looking for, a long-term relationship or a short-term relationship. Now I don't get that. Maybe you guys can clear it up for me. I don't get what's a short-term relationship. To me, a short-term relationship is whereby you have a relationship and then something goes wrong and you break up. That to me is a short-term relationship, and that's not something that you actually deliberately look for. You know, you're not going into a relationship thinking, oh, you know, this relationship's only going to last a few weeks or a month or a couple of months, 6 months, a year. You know, relationships run their course. You go into a relationship thinking, I want a relationship. You're either in a relationship or you're not. The amount of length in a relationship is determined by how well you get along with someone, whether or not you argue a lot, whether or not you get along very well or not. You know, you can't just kind of go, oh, right, okay, I want a short-term relationship. Such a body also wants a short-term relationship. Okay, so how short do we want it? What length are we having it? Okay, we'll just be together for a month. Okay, so you're together for a month, but what if you get along so well and everything's going well, you're just going to end it because, oh, I want a short-term relationship, we got to honor that agreement, we've got to end it now. It's like, no, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. You're either in a relationship or you're not. There are factors, like I say, there are factors that will determine whether it's short-term or long-term. A short-term relationship is just you getting into a relationship, you're together for a certain amount of time, and then for whatever reason you split off the relationship. It's not where you kind of go into it saying, oh, it's a short-term relationship, and then after a certain amount of time you say, okay, bye, even if so well. Like, no, that's, again, I think that's ridiculous. I don't understand that at all. The only time it would be a short-term relationship if you don't get along and you have to break up. What do you class as one anyway? Like, what do you class as a long-term relationship? Would you say, well, that's forever? Like, long-term is forever, but short-term is you're together a few years? Like, which, you know, it's stupid. I'll be right back. This light's off. He's replied, to get to know you all. Mostly slim and fairly muscular. Are you a furry by any chance, or into BDSM? You look mind-blowing. In those ears, makeup, clothes, so delicious. Oh god. Lovely. I think I'm gonna say no on the BDSM thing, because if I said that I was into that sort of thing, it would open up a plethora of weird conversation. I don't really want to encourage weird conversations. And when I say weird, I just mean where they only want to talk about sex. Or they only want to talk about doing BDSM things. Like, you know, when I don't even know them. Hallucinogens? What the fuck? Why would I be into that? I put fury. I'm a fury. I'm furious. In fact, I'm just going to dodge the question altogether, I think. Because I don't want to say no, but I also don't want to say yes either. I'm kind of a bit open-minded, but I'm not like, oh, I must do that sort of thing. But I don't want to say I don't want to do it, and I don't want to give it a chance either. So I can't say yes, I'm into BDSM or no. The only thing I can say, like, definite I am into is, like, more fantasy stuff. So, like, in my fantasies, I'm into BDSM. As in, other characters. So not me participating into it. I believe that's called parasexual, I think. There might be another, I don't think that's parasexual actually. There's this new word that I've learned, and it means that you're into other people, like you're into other people doing stuff, but not where you're involved. Do you know what I mean? I've always been that, but that's not parasexual. Apparently parasexual is where you're sexually interested in things that are not sexual, if that makes sense. So I guess you might say I am parasexual, because I get turned on by things other than sex. So, like, I get turned on by fat guys, but not necessarily having sex with them. Just their blubberiness. I don't have to have sex with them. But, yeah. I've always been that way. Or, like, other characters doing, say, BDSM stuff or sexual stuff. Well, these people just think that because I dress like a furry or whatever, because the way I dress, I'm just going to be this freak. And I'm just going to be like, you know, when I say freak, I don't mean like a weirdo freak. I mean, like, they think I'm going to be this sexual deviant. They think I'm going to be, like, really open-minded, as in willing to have sex straight up and talk about sex straight up. Thank you, Accent Numa 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 Numa. I didn't even see you come in until you said that. Hooray. I wanted Hinge, but my phone doesn't support it or something. Well, I've got an iPhone. Oh, no, you got an Android instead of an iPhone? I see. I've never tried to get Hinge on this one, you know. This one's I think it's Android. This one's iPhone, and I've got it on here, but only because I had more space on here at the time. I don't have space anymore, but I did. I got a new game, so that's taking up space on here. I don't understand the last question. I'm just gonna act like I'm dead innocent. I'm really not, but because I really just don't want to. I try not to encourage these sexual conversations, not with someone I've just met, someone I don't know that well. I'd rather only talk in a sexual way to someone I know a bit better. I hate to think I've wasted my time with this guy, but they all seem to what's the word? Steer the conversation towards a sexual nature. They always start out kind of okay, but then they steer the conversation to a sexual nature. And as a guy who decided to pose as a girl on the internet said, they try and ignore the sexual subject, but it always comes back to it. And that's what happened to me, and that's what happens to a lot of people apparently, is that you try and steer the conversation to a more innocent subject, but they always, steer it back to a sexual thing. So yeah. So I guess I could try and ignore it, but it might just come up depending on what this guy's like. We shall see. But yeah, this is my problem. This is why, I've not had much luck with guys. Because they're either not interested, as in the one I'm interested in, are never interested in me. And the ones who are interested are only interested in me for sex, not a relationship. So that's the problems I'm having. So what I'm trying to say is, that these people are not interested in me. It's not that I get no interest, it's just that it's the wrong kind of interest. Because I'm not looking for that sort of thing, so, these casual sex things. I guess everyone's left now. I've got one viewer left. Okay, he's replied. I said I don't understand the question. He said, no problem at all. I'm quite into my fitness, so I don't know about getting too much fatter. Maybe definitely bigger, more muscle-wise if you wanted. Well, no fat. I want fat, more fat. No, I don't want to go to his profile. I want to see his fucking message. Maybe definitely, oh, well, that's really... Oh, here we go. Look, he said that's hot, to be fair. But I am a switch, and I must say you look very confident and powerful in your photos. Hallucinogens are like magic mushrooms, and DMT, etc. For some reason, he's putting a question mark at the end. I don't get etc. And then X's. Was he doing the X's before? Yeah, he was. He's been doing the. So anyone who puts an X at the end, I also don't trust as well. They're also the ones who are trying to butter you up. Stuff endearing with the X's. Oh yeah, and another thing. So this guy that I told you I met in a supermarket in Tesco. He too has said that he just wants sex, but he said he wouldn't mind being just friends with me. And now he's saying, he said something. I asked to talk for a short time. We did, though. I'm clearing out my social media, so I'm going to take you off. So he's going to get rid of me just because I don't want sex as well, even though he said he wanted to still be friends with me. Bloody here we go, waste of time. I was actually watching videos by Base Shaman again, and he does like art/nice guys. I've got to say, I really do empathize with these nice guys. It is really frustrating and a waste of time. So when girls reject them, they say, oh, thanks for wasting my time or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. When they reject them, I feel the same way. No, I do not. I don't do. Yeah, this guy, I don't really think that we're gonna really get along then. He just seemed like a creep now. Saying that the furry stuff is hot.
So I just recently discovered from Base Shaman stuff. So I've discovered Chris Chan, Cyrax, or Chauncey. Apparently his name's Chance, and that's short for Chauncey. And then I discovered someone I have heard of before, because I'd never heard of Cyrax or well, I heard of Chris Chan, of course, but I'd never actually seen what he looked like or knew what he was about. I just kept hearing other YouTubers mention Chris Chan, and I used to think that he was this, like, probably hot young Japanese YouTuber. Or the like. When I saw him, it was like, he was nothing what I was expecting. And amongst those people, there was this guy who he said was like a narcissist, and he thought himself like better than everyone else, and he called himself the Supreme Gentleman. And I was like, oh, okay, who's this? And they said, oh, it's Elliot Rogers. Apparently has done videos on him. Yeah. I didn't know who it was at first. I thought, oh, it sounds interesting, this person though. But I didn't know. Apparently, I had heard of him before on, and I've talked about this on my YouTube channel before. What's it called? Danielle Kirsty's true crime videos. She tells the story about these true crime things. I remember thinking, I've heard it, that name does sound kind of familiar, and the way he looked familiar, and some of the stuff that I read about, because I couldn't find the videos, but I heard about something from Base Shaman, and I found the podcast where he's telling me about his story, well, telling anyone who will listen about the story, and I thought, yeah, this guy sounds familiar. Some of the stuff he was talking about, like how he had a hard time finding girls and he got frustrated about it, and he murdered a bunch of people in the end, and I think then committed suicide afterwards. And I thought, oh yeah, I know, it's definitely the one from Danielle Kirsty's video. No, it was Danielle Kirsty, sorry. I don't know which it is. And I thought, oh yes, I can kind of sympathise with him. Not the killing people, of course. But I could kind of empathise with him because I in the past I have been kind of like him, where I've been frustrated by not getting the things that I want in life. You know, times where it has kind of consumed my thoughts and my mind, and he talked about, like, you know, how he would go out. You know, when he started getting interested in girls, he would go out and he would see all these hot young couples, you know, very good looking. And, you know, he'd get very jealous and he'd get very, you know, bitter about it and say, why can't that be me? You know, why can't I be the guy with a hot girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And I have done that before. I have been like where I've gone out and thought that way about people. And he would say, he said, but so he'd go out and he'd think that way and he'd get really angry and then he'd come home crying. I didn't do that. He would, if he was at home, he would get, like, you know, consumed by his thoughts of this stuff and get angry and annoyed. So he'd go out only to have that same thing. So, you know, he wasn't happy whether he was in his house or out of his house. But to be honest with you, he had a lot of stuff going for him. As in, he had stuff going for him that he shouldn't have been just consumed with that one thing that he couldn't have. Like, you'd think he'd still be happy about all the other stuff. Like, he got to go on holidays a lot. He got to go between his mother and father's house because he got divorced. So he got, you know, he didn't have to just be sort of bored just being at one place all of the time, like I do. I mean, when my parents got divorced, I just got a 2-hour visit. I didn't get to go to his house for the weekend, and the rest of the time, 1 week at their mother's and the next week at their father's, and each week they'd spend, you know, their mother's or their father's, not just weekends. And my friend who lived next door, whose parents were divorced, again, it was weekends where she'd stay with him for weekends. I never got to do that. I just got a 2-hour visit once a week. That's what I got. So I didn't even get, because that would have been considered like a holiday to me. But a lot of kids apparently find that disturbing, like it disturbs them, like being uprooted every time and being moved about like every week. But to be honest with you, I'd find that really exciting, because I've always been the kind of person who likes to move around and stay at other places like other than home. I always found home kind of boring. I would have always preferred to. So if I was the kind of child who got to be moved around a lot, like either whether we moved house quite often, I would have been cool with that. I like exploring. I like living in different places. I like being in different places. I don't like being in the same place for too long. Unfortunately, I've had that. But a lot of kids apparently want this stability stuff where they're just in one place. And I'm like, I could have done with being those kids that get to move around a lot. And they could have done with being me, because I only ever stayed in one place. The only time I got to sleep over anywhere else was when I was about, I think I was either 8 or 9. I got to sleep over at Grandma's house for my birthday. And we had this arrangement where every birthday I would sleep over for more nights. So yeah, the first was when I was 8, so I got 1 night to sleep there. And then the next year, which was when I was 9, it would have been 2 nights. But then I didn't get to do that because Grandma was so unwell the following year. I didn't get to sleep over for my 10th birthday. So that kind of sucked. And then she died when I was 10, so she died in the October. So, you know, obviously that really sucks. And that was, like I say, that was my first time I experienced depression, was after that. And then I think that was it. I don't think I've spent the night anywhere else since. Oh wait, when I was 12, I got to stay the night in Wales when we went to my mum's my mum's friend's husband's, the friend and the husband's anniversary. So they were going there to that. And because, you know, she didn't want to drive all the way there and then drive all the way back home in the same day, we stayed overnight. So, and my mum wasn't happy about it because he was creeping her out, and he's very creepy, and he's not a very nice person. So, my mum was happy to get out of there. And he still stalks her to this day. But luckily only online, not in real life. Because his wife died. His wife died at some point after that day. And he's been like obsessed with my mum ever since. So that was kind of creepy. And he keeps, even to this day, he keeps threatening to come here. And even if our gate's locked, he said, "It's okay, don't worry about the gate being locked, I can open it myself." And it's like, oh my god, that's so creepy. So yeah, there was that. And then the only other time I got to spend nights away from home was when my mum had the heart attack. And my cousins and my dad offered me to stay at their houses while my mum was in hospital. Because apparently they didn't want me to spend the nights here. I say that in quotation marks for a reason. I'll tell you the story if you'd like. Okay, once upon a time, my mum had a heart attack on the 29th of September 2015. That was the second time I got depression in my life. Yay. Actually, no, third time. I'm lying. So first time after Grandma died. Second time was when I was either 15 or 16, I think it was 16, which was when I took those breast reduction tablets, and apparently they're full of caffeine. And while I was on them, I was like on a high, but then when I stopped taking them, I kind of got depressed. And then the third time, I guess, because I was really happy after that, but then the third time I got depressed was after my mum's heart attack for some reason. And that's because I took these antihistamine tablets that my cousin's partner at the time, he's still with her, but she was like fiance then. Now they're married at last. They've only been married for like 7 or 8 or probably 10 by now years. But it was fiancés then, and now they're actually married. So my cousin's partner at the time, fiance, she was a nurse. She is a nurse. And she had antihistamines, and she gave me them. I didn't really need them. My eczema was really bad, but to me antihistamines are more for like sneezy stuff. I'm not sure they actually help with eczema, but she gave me antihistamines anyway. And I stupidly took them, and it made me be on a high for a while. So then when I stopped taking them the following year, I got depressed. I told you about that before. Anyway, so the first night of my mum's heart attack, she actually died, and it took them 7 minutes to actually revive her and get a pulse. And then obviously they said she might not survive, because even after being put in a coma and then taken out of it after the operation, the next day she might just be a vegetable, or she might come round. They weren't sure what was going to happen. But as you know, my mum's fine. Brilliant. But anyway, that first night they said, my cousin, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, when they'd done the surgery, and we came home, as in here, and he said I can't stay, because I was fully prepared to like stay here, but he said you can't stay here on your own, you know, I'm gonna take you to my house. So I spent the night there, and then we spent the sort of day together after that, and then I came here during the day, obviously for the dog, because obviously I had to still feed and take the dog out and the cat. So yeah, there was that. I still had to come back here during the day because of the dog and the cat. So I spent, they said they were going holiday on Friday, so they couldn't host me anymore. My dad and his wife at the time, I believe they're no longer together anymore, my dad and his wife at the time offered to let me stay the night theirs. Actually, not the night, the whole weekend. But after the first night, they kicked me out, and I don't know why, because they were all enthusiastic about me having me there. And then suddenly the next day, my dad came to me and said that they think that it's better if I stay here. And I was like, oh, okay. A minute ago you said that I shouldn't be here alone, and that I was going to be there for the weekend. And they even said that they were going to do like a Sunday dinner, and they'd specifically got, you know, my vegetarian stuff in so that we could do it. But yeah, that was kind of weird. It was kind of weird that 1 minute they were all enthusiastic and insistent upon me staying, and then the next minute they didn't want me there. I thought that was weird. Oops. Hey Issa, oops. Thanks, Numa is here too. Fantastic. Nobody's liking, that's not good. You guys suck tonight. Nobody liking the chesting. So rude. So very rude. So anyway. Yeah. And because my dad didn't allow me to stay any more nights now, my other cousin, the first cousin's son, offered to put me up, because he rang me and we talked about it. I said, so what, I'll be okay at the house. And we hung up, and then he rang again and said, I can't let you stay there. I will let you stay here until my dad and his wife come home. So I stayed. So my dad dropped me off at his house, and he was fine. And I remember my dad said that he thinks it's better if I stay here for some reason. Like, his reasoning was because of the dog and the cat, and that I should be here for the dog and the cat. But I don't buy it. I didn't buy it. So suddenly he's okay with me staying at, you know, Adam's house, my cousin's. And then when they dropped me off at his house, they all was making fun of the fact that my skin was shedding a lot of, you know, dead skin, a load of flakes. they were kind of making fun of me because of it. And to be honest with you, I didn't really appreciate it. Because although it was all of good fun, I was kind of self-conscious about the fact that, you know, I shed a lot of skin because my eczema was that bad. I don't shed as much now because my skin's not as bad as it was. My face is still pretty bad, though. Okay. Not sure these are any good. How long ago were these done? I'm not sure I want to chance those. So you know what? I'm not gonna. Oh God, it's nearly 9 o'clock. Yeah, I don't know if that's hot enough, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Don't think anything. Ah, there's the one. Okay. This should have been done ages ago, really, but oh well, it's been done now. This will be enough. Time. Right then, I think I'ma go now and get changed and finish off dinner. See you guys later. Bad people making rude comments. Well. So, yeah. Bye, see you later.